electricity here in Columbia, well, it's been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the raid breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Let's go, Carolina!
It's gone! Touchdown!
What a hit!
He baked it in! Can you believe it? Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherber.
Oh, watch him celebrate now!
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losing.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell him, you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home. Inside the Gamecocks, the show, live from the Signorama Studios, the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics and built by the Barn Co. The barndominiumco.com, where you can build your dream home for as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or in Tennessee, that's where you want to go. The barndominiumco.com, they're one of the U.S.'s best builders for a reason. Make sure you find them there. You've certainly found us here. We're here until 1. JC will be in just a little bit. He's trying to wrap up some stuff for JC and Morgan, and then he'll pop in with us here in just a little while. We'll lead off hour number 2 with Brad Crawford, who over the last week or so has put out some information that certainly got some people talking, his thoughts and predictions for the 2023 SEC football season. So it won't be all Gamecocks in that conversation, but certainly there will be plenty to talk about. There's some baseball stuff to talk about. That's in the mix today, and some Gamecock football. There are good things going on, at least seemingly from a recruiting standpoint. Nothing hard that I can tell you, oh, I know this, but I can't tell you. But I can tell you that last night, after having some conversations, they feel probably even better than I thought they felt about what happened this past weekend on their one of their big recruiting weekend and all the visits that were occurring in Columbia. So we'll get into some of that here in just a little while as well. Phil, we'll actually lead off with some basketball news. This is pretty cool for South Carolina. The ACC and the SEC, their men's and women's basketball challenge schedules have been released, and they overlap November 28th and 29th for the men and November 29th and 30th for the women. The women's side, South Carolina will visit North Carolina on Thursday, November 30th at 7 o'clock. I'm assuming that'll end up being prime time on ESPN. On the men's side, 7 o'clock Tuesday night, November the 28th, the Gamecocks will welcome Notre Dame to Colonial Life Arena. So that'll be an interesting matchup for them. But the ACC, the first or inaugural, I guess you could call it, ACC, SEC men's and women's basketball challenge schedules are out. By the way, on the men's side, some notable matchups. Clemson's going to go to Miami, so good luck there. Miami. Clemson's going to go to Alabama, so good luck there. Tennessee is going to head to North Carolina. That is certainly an interesting one as well. So all that stuff coming up much later on in the year. Duke, by the way, they'll visit Arkansas. Well, I tell you what, Bud Walton Arena will be roaring when the Blue Devils walk in. So some pretty cool stuff on the basketball front to lead us off here on a wonderful and beautiful Wednesday afternoon. What's up, man?
Yeah, no doubt. Doing well, sir. Doing well. Do the crazies, do the Cameron crazies travel like that for non-con games and things? I'm not sure what Duke's travel fan situation is. I know Arkansas folks will show up in droves.
Yeah, I remember when Duke came to Greenville, when South Carolina beat them, I was covering that for ESPN. I was on the floor.
Yeah, that's postseason, though. That's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of Duke fans, but they weren't like the crazy. I mean, the Cameron Crazies are students.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Students really probably don't travel then, I was thinking, yeah. Didn't know if that kind of bled over into just normal fan bases, but I knew it was student centered. But
yeah, I don't think it's no.
You got to figure they let go of that once they get out of school,
right?
It's again, wine and cheese conference. Sorry, ACC. What does that say about the Big Ten, though? Because it used to be the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Is that still? Did they do away with that this year? I haven't looked.
I haven't either, actually. Now that you think,
I wonder if it's like ACC just has decided to continue their run with the Premier Conference. That just happens to be SEC now, not the Big Ten.
Yeah, I was going to say the SEC. I thought they were better. I mean, no, because I've always given the ACC the respect they deserve. It is what it is. They set the bar traditionally, but I thought last year the SEC was much better, right?
Mm-hmm. Just without looking at any numbers, my gut says the SEC had a really solid showing last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was fantastic. This will be a good.
Be nice.
Yeah, it will. I don't actually remember how well Notre Dame did last year. I'll have to go back and kind of check that out. But that'll be a good draw. There's no doubt. For they always try to set these things up with teams that are kind of comparable or at least can. They don't want a bunch of blowouts if they can avoid it. Put it that way. So they'll try to compare. So I'm assuming both of them are probably fairly similar. We'll have to check it out. Yeah, already in the Nana Sports chat box today. Joel, I got you. We'll get to that here in just a minute because I would be absolutely willing to do that. I love that. But just awful news over the last, I don't know, 12, 16 hours or so. Ryan Mallett drowning in Florida. I actually have a friend of mine who's on our little family group text who works down there and let's just say this. He works for the government. He keeps us very safe. I just can't really elaborate on what he does. It's kind of sneaky, but he knows that area because they train in those waters. And he said the rip currents down there are brutal. And so just really awful, just awful to hear about Ryan Mallett and just awful. He was fun to watch play, and he was, just amazing.
He's the most prolific Arkansas quarterback. That moved on. He put 7 years in the league.
Up there. Yeah, he was in the league for a while. Yeah.
Journeyman guy, but just hate to hear it. 35 years old, man. Just stuff like that hits home hard.
It's really brutal. I mean, just thoughts and prayers, and certainly all the stuff that you can bring into that conversation with his family, and then the in-laws and nephew of Jimmy Johnson, NASCAR's Jimmy Johnson. Found dead after a shooting in Oklahoma, and it appears that it was a murder-suicide. That was late last night, and I guess the report said that the police department, the Muskogee in Oklahoma, their police department received a call from a woman who said, quote, there was a disturbance and someone had a gun and then hung up.
Yeah.
When they got there, there was a person laying in the hallway inside the front door of the home. They determined that person was deceased. And then after arriving, officers heard a gunshot from further back in the house and tried to get anybody who was inside to come outside. And then they found 2 more who were deceased. And wow. His in-laws and their grandson. So just awful.
His nephew. Yeah. It's just, terrible situation.
I mean, just awful. I just, wow. Well, thoughts and prayers to the Johnson family. And I'm sure I know. Well, it's big, awful news out there, but I'm sure NASCAR will do whatever they can to be there for the Johnson family. That's just terrible. Some other stuff here. The Nana Sports chat box to kind of lead off the show today. Clint said, whoa, Hale was right. King Joseph's film is the most lackluster I've seen for a highly ranked guy. He got a sack on the first play, and that was the only tackle he made in the 3-minute and 11-second tape. Yeah, you know what? I actually have not looked at his tape. I just take Hale's word for it there, but I know that I do know this. He's a little bit further down the line for South Carolina in their recruiting prowess at this point in time. Quantrell says, JB, I had a question about Paul Skeens. I saw him get compared to Steven Strasburg on the Pat McAfee show. Do you think that's an apt comparison? Sure. Yeah, I do. He's a guys like Strasburg who've got these golden arms that, when you first saw them kind of come up and get into the big leagues, you thought, well, this guy's going to be around for as long as he wants to be around. And you find out real quick that power, those you got to be careful. And Strasburg has just had so many injury situations. And so these are cases that guys like Paul Skeens, of course, are learning under. And their coaches, they've seen the big power arms. Think about it. Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, and all these guys who kind of broke through back then. You didn't have everybody throwing 100. And Paul Skeens is throwing 102, 103 maybe. So, and he's not like, at this point in time, at least, like Chase Burns, who's transferring from Tennessee, Phil, who's in the portal. I think Chase Burns wants to start, and that's one of the reasons he's probably going to end up elsewhere outside of Knoxville, but he has been a reliever, and being a reliever throwing 100 plus and a starter going 120, 130 pitches a game, basically max velo is, yeah. So I do think that's a good comparison. There's been a lot of those names kind of mentioned with him, and big, strong righty who throws 100 miles an hour. There's only a few of them out there who've had a lot of success, so you can really compare to each other, and I think that's a great one. I think I'll say this, Phil, watching Paul Skeens pitch, throwing 100+ mile an hour, it looks very easy to him.
Right.
He just kind of flings it in there. The guy that I always thought looked like it just no effort, and it was 100. No effort, and it was 100. Was actually from the left side. That was Randy Johnson.
The big unit.
Yeah,
Man, I mean, he could sling it.
He would tow it and throw it, and there was no effort. The ball just flew.
Yeah. The thing that really stands out to me about Skeens is you'll look up and it'll be the 8th inning, and he's still high 90s.
Absolutely,
and with command. It's like just not losing it too bad, and just it's nuts. I mean, he's the perfect guy. All you need, you got one guy that'll go 8. Throw you a closer in there and let's go home.
Clint said Randy Johnson, PETA's most hated player. Look, man, I still cannot believe that happened.
I know.
Like, that's one of those things where, do you remember the day it happened, and back in the Sports Center rerun days, you saw that bird get plucked
over and over. I watched that bird die 100 times.
And that was just by noon the next day.
That's right.
I mean,
I still see it about once a year or so, just cruising around the internet at random places. Like, remember when this happened? I'm like, man, that poor bird.
I know. Just couldn't believe it. I see. Craig says that Skeens reminds him of Roger Clemens. I absolutely understand what you're talking about. I don't. He doesn't me, and it's not just in body shape. Clemens. When Clemens was a very much a full body max effort guy when he pitched, and Skeens isn't. Now, some of that has to do with his size, of course, and the power that's in there. But I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I disagree. Like I compare him to Randy Johnson, except for he's right-handed. If you had to compare him to a right-hander, probably. From a fluidity standpoint, Mark Pryor, in my opinion, but he's got better stuff than Pryor, so it's hard. I mean, but here's the other thing, though. We've never seen anything like this, and Jay Johnson said it, and I didn't. It was a big bold statement, one of those ones that you got to be careful about. You say things like that. Oh, I've never seen it, and you hear it all the time. It's the best player I've ever seen. I mean, in college baseball, I've never seen anything like that. Now, we've seen guys with more wins, of course. The game's Kip Baltnight had more wins. But from, like, the dominance of oh, crap, look who we have to face today outside of pitching at Founders Park. I mean, that's the one thing. If you were at that game, you're gonna remember that game the rest of your life. The Skeens start at Founders. You'll remember it forever. Braylon Wimmer and Ethan Petrie not just went yard. I mean, both of those balls left in a hurry, and they were long gone. So, I mean, that's one of those, like, the great memories of Gamecock baseball. We've talked about them on here with Kip and Drew and Landon and Smoke and whoever else has been on this show. That's one of those ones, if you were at that game, you're going to tell that story in 10, 15, 20 years. I remember when number 1 LSU came in. I remember when this guy came in, this 10-time big league all-star, maybe an MVP one day, Cy Young Award winner, whatever, and Braylon Wimmer and Ethan Petrie hurt his feelings. You'll be able to tell that story forever.
That's right. I mean, it's amazing because you're going to see him. He's going to be in there for a long time.
Yep.
Traveling around,
He's the number 1 pick in the draft. It's not close.
Oh, yeah. Nope. Yeah. No, I don't think so either. Yeah, I think he'll go easy, number 1.
Oh, it's not even close. Yeah, the question's who goes 2 and who goes 3. Is it Langford? Is it Cruz? I think Cruz is a little bit more polished, but I think they've nailed it. I think those 1, 2, 3 right there. I'm not sure anybody's gonna slip into that. Carol Lucas 77. What's up, man? Said JB, I need you to drop by Founders with a Carolina Rise bag for Dominic Nimmin. Yeah, they feel pretty good about him. I'll tell you what, they feel pretty good about him, and they feel pretty good about Billy Amick. I think John I didn't get a chance to read it, but I think John had a report up on the Big Spur a little while ago. If you haven't, check it. Let's say that's not true. I didn't get a chance to read it in detail. I was able to skim it, but I was trying to fix my business banking situation here because they screwed something up. So I've been in a fluster for 2 hours. Yeah, but they feel pretty good about both of those guys. I mean, Billy Amick, I think the connection with Monty, being close to home. I know he likes Coach Kingston, and the hurdle has been, how am I going to play for the Gamecocks? But my understanding of that is that guard has kind of come down a little bit. So if they can get him, watch out. And if Dominic Nimmin is a guy that they end up signing as well, I don't know. I'll say, and this isn't disrespectful to Dominic Nimmin at all. It's more respect to the guys that are on the current roster. I don't think you just automatically plug this kid into the weekend rotation, but he's absolutely one of the top 4 guys that are going to be in contention for it. There's no question about that. He'll have to earn it. My prediction would be he would be a weekend guy. But that, Matthew Becker's a guy I think they're really excited about. They should be. He's growing next year, 3rd year in the program, lefty, learning to pitch, those type things. You'll have a couple of those guys. That's a big deal. And then watch out for Eli Jones and Roman Kimball in the offseason. And I think you'll have some pretty good ones to pick from there. So we'll see how it all unfolds, but I know they feel pretty good about both those guys as well.
Yeah. And he hasn't said when he's going to make a decision yet. He's just, the only thing we know right now is he's taking officials, even though he postponed his Texas A&M official. But is he in Columbia today?
No. I think he was here yesterday.
Yeah, I want to say yesterday
or earlier in the week. I can't remember now, but he's no. He's not going to take an official to South Carolina. So,
no, not here. Yeah. No, but he has some lined up. Like
he's
3,
I know Whittle's reported on this.
Yeah.
So I'll certainly leave the reporting to him. I highly doubt he actually ends up making that trip to A&M. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah. I think that he's going to it'll come down between the Gators and the Gamecocks and probably Tennessee. and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But if you ask me today, pick one, I'd say it's South Carolina. And I mean, that's pretty good intel, but that doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be. It could absolutely change. So we'll see what he does. But if they get him, they'll have 4 All-Americans in the lineup. And speaking of All-Americans, this morning, Baseball America named Ethan Petrie a second-teamer and Cole Messina a third-teamer. So they have now multiple All-American titles to their name in 2023. Just really unbelievable. You couldn't have predicted that. Ethan Petrie didn't even start the season, hit 1 home run in the fall. Cole Messina was a guy that you thought, okay, we've got a catcher. We'll see what he does this year. Last year, he had a really difficult time transitioning, and nobody saw that. So, wow. Yeah, just hats off to those guys. All right, some good stuff in the Nana Sports chat box. And Joel, I did not forget about you. I love talking about smoking meats, man, and I this is my favorite hat. That's why I wear it the most. So we will get to that here in just a little bit. Do you have a question for you, Joel, and anybody else that's willing to answer? Do you have a signature item that you roll out onto the smoker? Is it barbecue? Is it brisket? Is it chicken? Could be something a little different. I know a guy that won't do anything but smoke cheeseburgers now. How about that? No. He'll smoke them for an hour and a half. He won't do it any other way. So if you've got it, roll it out. 4th of July is next week. What's on the menu? How about that? Hang tight. Inside the Gamecocks, the show is time for a break, but when we return, that and more, we'll be right back. Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The real estate market has changed dramatically from just a year ago. Rates, supply, demand, all of your traditional factors are in a transition phase. That's why if you or someone you know are considering making a move in the Lowcountry, contact me, JB, at Coast to Coast Realty. I work with an outstanding support cast of attorneys, lenders, inspectors, insurance agents, and more, all of whom are valuable in helping find a way for you to comfortably make your real estate decision. That's right. Call me, JB, your Lowcountry real estate broadcaster. Building your dream home is often just that, a dream. And sometimes a nightmare. But at the Barn Dough Company, they commit to quality and build without sacrifice. Customization, open floor plans, limitless flooring options, maintenance-free and easy installation perks, and affordability are just a few reasons why they've been named one of the best builders in the U.S. Believe in your dreams. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barn Dough Company. Gamecock owned, Gamecock operated.
Traveling to cheer on the Gamecocks? Reserve your hotel stay with Fan Plans. Your booking supports Inside the Gamecocks and the Big Spur, plus you still earn your hotel loyalty points. Visit fanplans.com/Inside the Gamecocks.
What's up, Gamecock Nation? This is Jakar Moore from the DMV, and you are listening to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. First hour of the show, as always, is brought to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the Upstate. Give Cindy a call, 864-414-5271. She'll be happy to talk to you about all your residential real estate needs. You know, I used to grill a lot more than I used to. But I've never had a smoker. Never had a smoker.
Yeah, that's the ticket, man. I mean, I've got a pit boss. I upgraded to the one that's, and don't judge, and don't, like, I'm not a flashy guy or anything like that. I got a deal on it. That's why it was the last one, and it was the one on the floor at Lowe's. But I upgraded to the one with the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth and all that. So I literally can crank I could be wherever, and I crank that sucker up from my phone. Granted that you got the pellets in it, but yeah, I like Quantrell said, smoked wings are top tier, and they are. So my one of my best friends, and probably a lot of you remember him, Mike Cisco, used to pitch for Carolina. If you've ever had the smoked wings at Home Team, he's nailed it. He got the recipe, and I told Aaron, who owns all the Home Teams, one time, I said, "Hey man, my buddy got the recipe." He said, "How'd he get that?" This has been a while back, probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. I said, I don't know, but not only does he have the recipe to the wings, he's got the recipe to the white sauce. So like, and Mike's good on the smoker. He's really good at it. And so when he smokes wings, I mean, it's just like you're eating at Home Team. And he goes and gets the good ones, the big fat, not the little chumpy ones that you get from Food Lion or something like that.
Decent wings. Yeah.
Yeah. Meat on them, man. You got to put meat on the bone.
Sink your teeth into something.
Exactly. Nah, Clint, I don't have any money, man. I'm telling you. Matter of fact, I bought that. Let me tell you here's a story on it. I went to Lowe's. I went to Lowe's to get this 30-second cleaner that I spray on the concrete. Okay, this was the day before my birthday in December, and my last smoker was a pit boss that my father-in-law surprised my wife and I with when we got married in 2017. So it's been over 5 years, and it was a good one. Loved it. Didn't even intend on getting a new one. But I went in there and I looked over and I said, "That thing's really that amount off?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, how many you got left?" Because I thought I would ask my wife, "Hey, look, in lieu of little piddly gifts for Christmas, let's just, splurge on one thing. We're all going to benefit from it because I'm going to use it all the time."
Right.
So he said, "Well, let me go check." He comes back. He said, "That's it right there." I said, "Where?" He goes, "Right there, the floor one." I said, No, come on now. He said, if it's the floor, you got to give me more of a deal." And he did. He doubled up on what it was already off.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So, but she didn't know that. So I came home, kids are at a birthday party, and I pull up. I got a smoker in the back
with a new smoker in the truck. Yeah.
I got out. Carrie goes, "I'm going to beat you,
Yeah. I know how I'd be greeted with that.
Oh yeah. She wasn't happy.
Yeah.
But I just told her, I said, "Hey, look, whatever you got me for my birthday, if you got me anything, just push that off to Christmas and let's call it even." And that's what we did. There you go. Carol Luca said, "I've done some smoking in my time, but unfortunately the only burgers that end up producing come from McDonald's."
Maybe a different kind of smoke in there, Kara.
Craig said he's got a Blackstone, and an air fryer. Yeah, the air fryers. I don't like the air fryer. I mean, I don't. That's not true. I like using an air fryer. I just like going outside. I like to sit outside. If I'm gonna do something good, like I'll smoke like the real thick pork chops, Phil.
Oh yeah.
Or go get some good steaks, and I'll smoke them just for the flavor, and then sear them on the flat top. Blake Cooper.
Yeah, the Blackstone. I've found very intriguing. That looks really good to me. Yeah. So you could do anything on that. I mean, it's like it's like having that Waffle House experience, right? Well, you can just set it up and do your whole short order deal there.
Well, and that's the trick too with the burgers. If you do the smash burgers on the flat top, do them real thin. Go ahead, throw that bacon on there and get good bacon grease on it, and then do the burgers, and then just throw the cheese over it, and then just drop the buns real quick, butter them up first. You're out of there.
Yep.
You got 5 guys in no time.
That's right. Better than, I'm sure.
Well,
I mean, 5 guys is good. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah. Lynette asks, "How are we looking for Jalewis Solomon?" Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think at this point in time they feel as good about Jalewis Solomon as they do about all of the uncommitted guys. Look, I think that, and I don't want to overstep my boundaries here at all because I try to stay out of recruiting when I can stay out of it. So I'm not speaking over Hale. I'm actually defending Hale. I want to make sure that this comes off clear. He was not yesterday referencing at all that they are unsure or they feel good about Daniel Hill. Okay. All he was saying is that that it could change because Bama is involved, but they feel really good about it. And I actually, what's today? Wednesday. So Monday, I had a chance to speak with one of my sources up there, and if he commits today, it's probably going to be South Carolina. If it takes a little while, doesn't mean that it won't be South Carolina, but it certainly means that Alabama is right in the thick of it, and they've gotten themselves in a good spot. But the Gamecocks probably really lead this thing, probably by a little bit more than people think. They've done a nice job with it. I know that he has a good relationship with Coach Hardesty and Coach Loggins and the rest of this staff, Coach Beamer, and he likes the position that he could be in here to be able to come in and play. And one of the things too that's going to sell some of this, guys, is DeCarrion is going to play this year, right? Mario is going to play this year. We know that. Juju is going to play this year. DJ Braswell is also going to play this year. So having a freshman being able to come in and play, running backs are a dime a dozen. You got to have 100 of them. And so if you're a freshman in the 24 class, if you're one of 2 guys in that class, and they sign Matthew Fuller and they sign Daniel Hill, those guys are going to play, and they know that. Because you're going to get banged up. DeCarrion Joyner is going to move on. Mario Anderson is going to move on. They're going to play. They're going to come right in and play in the SEC. That's probably not the case at Alabama. You get recruited. I mean, the goal is to every program, Phil, right? Every program in any sport, you want to recruit over the guy. You always do. That's how you get better. Oh, yeah. But it's much more common at Alabama, because they recruit a 5-star running back every year. So we'll kind of see how it all works out. Bama is in it, but Carolina feels pretty good. Jalewis Solomon, not to get too far off on you there, Lynette. I'm not as confident right now, but that can all change. And I'm not Shane Beamer, so I don't want to speak for him, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens down the road. Jan said the Traeger makes a new flat top called the Flat Rock. All right. I need a new flat top, so I'm in for checking that out. You got a price on that, Jan? Send it over.
You gotta make it a good
KFC wants a Traeger. Can't go wrong with a Traeger. Again, I'm a Pit Boss guy. Save a bunch of money, get the same thing in my eyes. I love it. I know how to use it. So if that's something that what are you cooking for the 4th?
We haven't really discussed what we're doing for the 4th. We usually go up to my dad's house, but they're actually camping at Myrtle Beach next week. So, probably we'll do some burgers and stuff here on the grill.
Yeah. Grill guy. Are you
I enjoy it. I don't know. I like to cook it, period. I can spend hours in the kitchen. It's kind of like my zen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Because I see Joel, I'm a barbecue guy myself. And I'll tell you, and I can't tell you how, because it'd be my wife pulled this off, so I can't violate certain laws. Not anything illegal. Just one of her. This happened through work. I have full jugs, and I'm good. I can do barbecue the best of them, Phil. I got people who moved into our neighborhood from Idaho, and they're wonderful, wonderful people. And they had my barbecue, and they said, we've been about every barbecue place since we've been here, and this is the best.
And it's good.
So,
I have a recipe for my own sauce. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't, because my sauce is the original Sweatman's barbecue sauce.
Is it really?
I can't tell you how I get it.
Can't tell you how I get it. That's right.
Can't tell you how I get it. I won't tell. I told anybody how I got it. People are like my cousins, especially. We used to go up there when I was a kid. I played baseball in the summers, and I worked in Schuler's for Schuler's Peach Company from 13 to 18. In addition to playing baseball, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday when I was home, we go up there. I didn't pick peaches, but I worked on the farm and worked literally on the farm with the cows and the chickens, all that stuff too. Worked in the peach orchards and all that stuff. And every Friday, we always got done at 10, and we went over and slept. If you've ever been to Sweatman's in Utahville, there's a big oak tree out front, and we slept under that oak tree. And we got about a 45-minute nap, and you got up and you got in line because they opened at 11.
Yep.
And back then, they gave you one styrofoam. I'm sure somebody listening to this remembers it. They used to get one styrofoam plate, okay? And it was styrofoam. It was not paper. It was not plastic. It was styrofoam. And you got to go through one time. That was it, the buffet. So you could always tell who had been there and who hadn't been there. All right. And now they would tell you when you checked in, okay, hey, and back then it was $5.60, $5.70 a plate, stuff like that. Started going up. Now it's like $15, which is ridiculous. But back then it was $5-6 a plate. And you could tell when the people would go through the line, just based on what they put on their plate and how they put it on their plate, that they weren't regulars. So, and there was only a few of those. Most everybody who went there ate there all the time because we saw the same people, all that type of stuff. But the ticket was, if you had the styrofoam plate, Phil, all right, so picture styrofoam. Oh, yeah. The ticket was barbecue, okay, on one side, rice and hash on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And ribs on the outside. And then you slowly stack it to the middle like a volcano.
Yeah, you build it up. Yeah, yeah.
You build it up. It looked like an anthill. And so you'd go sit down, and the ones who've never been there before would look at you like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? But meanwhile, you're looking at them going, you screwed up.
Yeah. That's right.
You paid $6. I got $18 worth of food, and you got $6 worth of food.
That's right. You're a noob. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man, those were the days, man. And you go back, and it was about 45 cents for banana pudding, and you had a pitcher of sweet tea, and then after that, you took a nap. That was the way that it was.
Yeah, so. You'd need to after some good Sweatman's.
Oh, those were the days, man. Those were the days. And I don't think Sweatman's is necessarily as good as it used to be for a number of reasons, but it'll always be near and dear to me. Those were the best days of my life, going out there and doing that. So Saunders said, if you walk in and there are pitchers of lemonade and sweet tea on the table, it's going to be lit. That's true. Yeah. And if the lemonade's good or not, if it's what type of lemonade it is. Twisted Rooster, what's up? JB may be my kinfolk. I am a Schuler from that area. I grew up on Sweat. Well, I'm not a Schuler, but I sure felt like I was related to him. Kevin and Kenneth Schuler and all those guys back then. I still see Kevin a lot and his wife. I grew up on Sweatman's barbecue and dove off the cliffs behind the peach fields on Lake Marion. And he still has both legs. Not a gator took one off. That's awesome.
Guess one fast.
Yeah, Sweatman's kept you alive. People think it'll kill you. It actually keeps you alive.
Oh, yeah, stuff like that's good for you.
That's right. Joey asked JB thoughts on the Tennessee transfer of Fitzgibbons and see that he's a possibility on the Big Spur. Yeah, I hadn't heard much about him. I know about him, no doubt. I haven't heard much. I've asked, kind of who they're in the thick of it with and aren't. His name came up, but it looks like it might take a little time for that really to heat up. I at this point in time, this could change, of course. If you ask me right now, make a prediction, I don't think he'll end up at Carolina, but Monty's a hell of a recruiter, and so is Matt Williams, and Coach King's done a pretty nice job himself. And you throw those guys into the middle of it, they might have a chance at getting it figured out. Joel's a big green egg guy. Can't go wrong there either.
My in-laws have one of those.
Yeah. I mean, they're fantastic. No doubt. Joel said best segment all week. Food unites.
That's right. We're bringing people together today. We're all coming together today.
We don't have the YouTube posers. They don't want any part of this, huh?
Nah, they're out today. That's all right. I'm ready.
KFC asks if Landon Sampson is ever going to see the field. I think you will. I think you'll actually see him early in the season this year. And everything I've heard is he's got a chance to be pretty good around here. So they like him, and they've got a lot of really good wide receivers on this team. And I think it's one of the more versatile groups I've seen in a while, Phil, at South Carolina, because you've got some guys who are kind of that hybrid, that new position that's Jared Cook was ahead of his time almost. So you got kind of these tight end wide receiver kind of hybrid guys like Josh Simon and Trey Knox. You got obviously Juice Wells. You got some guys that are a little bit more fidgety out there that we've got really accustomed to under Coach Spurrier, like Ace Sanders and Pharaoh Cooper. And one of the great celebrations ever, Demir Bird. Yeah. Those guys. And so you got Amarian Brown and although DeCarrion is a running back, he's going to be utilized in a lot of different situations. I would say wait and see on that, because it's not like I've been sitting there watching practice. I don't have Dow Loggins' number. We're not texting back and forth, but my understanding is there's some creativity with guys and trying to maximize their strengths. And so while he is probably 1A at running back going into the season, he's going to do some different things. You'll see him out in the slot, and that's not anything unusual. Marshawn Lloyd, all those guys line up in the slot.
No, yeah.
But then you've also got, just some purebred wide receivers, and Landon Sampson is one of them. So really, really looking forward to seeing that guy. 76 said, y'all do the grilling, I'll do the eating. That's fine. Yeah. I'm all in for that. You're welcome at my house anytime.
That's right.
If that's what you want to do, is just sit back and eat. We love to feed around here. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that.
It's one way to show love. It's the best way.
Quantrell, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. When we invite people over to our house, and they generally, what can we bring? We just say nothing. If they bring something, that's fine. But y'all come on and come hang out.
Yep. Our answer is anything specifically you feel like drinking, you're more than welcome to bring. But other than that, we got you covered.
Bourbon? You want to bring some bourbon or a handle of Dixie vodka? I'm all in.
Yeah.
You can do that anytime. Joel, I you know what? I don't have the whole story on Birch. I can tell you that, sometimes you got to be careful with what you say, you know what I mean? But put it this way, he wasn't planning to go anywhere till he went home. And things changed when he got home, and he kind of went dark on his teammates and his staff here. I have no problem saying that. That's been said to me multiple times by multiple people who were right in the middle of it. And kind of went dark on everything, and nobody could get a hold of him, and never renewed his lease. And people started kind of wondering what was going on. And then he basically was gone and kind of moved out in the middle of the night when they weren't here. So as far as like why, what was, I don't know. I know that there's NIL involved. I don't know the specifics and certainly don't want to get much more into that, but that should kind of summarize that and, squash the bug and move on. But you've asked about that plenty before, and I don't think there's any reason to not be able to share the facts that are easily shareable like that.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, it's 11:48. Final timeout of hour number 1. We got Brad Crawford coming up to lead off hour 2. JC is he'll be here. He's wrapping up some JC and Morgan stuff this morning. Don't worry, nobody scared him off yesterday. Hang tight. We are powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston, and we sure do love Michelle Wilkins and her staff. They are amazing, amazing people. If you want to have fun, check those things out, man. They are so cool. The Gamecock football team Loved them. And I had to tell Coach Beamer they weren't riding down Highway 17. It was a side road. Everything was good. It was all good, man. It was all good.
You don't want an angry Shane on the phone with you. Like, what are you doing?
I said, Shane, you got great kids. Are they riding in the middle of 17? No. I don't think. No, they're good.
They weren't supposed to.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good, man. And if they are, guess what? They get 30 mile an hour. They're keeping up with traffic because you can't go past 30 mile an hour and set on 17 in Mount Pleasant anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so
that
they're probably they're going by traffic.
Yeah,
at 30 miles an hour. So hang tight. We'll be right back.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for a karaoke partner, I can tell you, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. But what I do have is a very specific set of skills. Hang up now, and your IT nightmares will continue. But stay on the line, and I will find you. And when I find you, I will fix it. Thanks. I think I have the wrong number. I'm trying to call Matt at Heritage Digital. He has a one price, low cost turnkey solution for all my IT needs. And I'm sick and tired of my IT guy. So yeah, 843-699-1001. This is 1002. Oh, well, thanks anyway. Don't be taken by some IT dude that talks a big game. Give Matt at Heritage Digital a call, 843-699-1001.
Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
Hey Gamecock fans, it's Evan Stone from Gamecock Baseball. A couple of painters paint the show garnet and black every day and get the job done right at a fair cost. Go to letmepaintsomething.com for information and an estimate. Go Cox.
You heard Evan Stone, Gamecock fans. 10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
Don't you know, no. From the littlest chick to the big old cock, it's the gift. Here comes the West.
Danny Hill. He'll run. Touchdown. Oh, watch him celebrate now.
Top of the crew, star of the show, Mr. Who's born pro. Well, I bet you wonder when you win a lot.
Oh, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I know, man.
Yeah, I was just grabbing some coffee downstairs. It was hard not to grab something to eat.
Yeah, we screwed up big time. I know. It's only in the middle of the week. We're leaving. So we've got Eric Church on Friday night, so we're a little over 48 hours away from the Chief, and then we're leaving Saturday for Delaware. Probably hungover. It's going to be a nice drive. One of the questions I keep asking is, well, so what are we doing for the 4th? And we're probably going to be in the boat up there. But if we weren't we weren't planning to go till just a couple of weeks ago. So I was planning, okay, well, I don't feel like doing everything I used to do, which is all day, boat, dock, the whole 9 yards. It's just with kids. It's just, So I'd rather just kind of take it easy and just kind of hang out at the pool and just have something smoking all day. So 2-3 weeks ago, Phil, I started making this menu in my brain. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do barbecue. I'm going to do ribs. My neighbor I mentioned who's come from Boise, Idaho, they make the best baked beans you've ever had in your life because they put ground sausage in it. And I can't figure out how they do it.
Yeah, now that's a game changer right there. I sound like.
Oh, it is. It changes everything. So I was like, well, shoot, man, we'll get Justin and Tanya to do their beans, and we'll do some mac and cheese and yada yada yada. I mean, we'll just have this big old spread, and then that'll, okay. So we're going to Delaware. So I immediately shifted to, all right, well, so what are we going to eat? Well, my wife looked at me and she was like, we're not going for 2 weeks. I don't know. I said, yeah, but let me tell you, here's what I don't want to happen.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to the 4th of July. We're celebrating America, man. I don't want to get to the 4th of July and all of a sudden we're like, well, what do we eat? I don't know. I guess I'll just make a sandwich because I know how her family can work sometimes. Well, I don't know. We haven't thought about it. Let's just make a sandwich. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
No.
So I've started putting out some feelers to the family that I trust up there. I'm like, yo, hey, what's the plan?
What do y'all got going on? Yeah. Yeah. What's everybody been talking about? Okay, well, let's start the conversation.
Yeah. Hey, you realize it's June 20th, right? I do. But I know how y'all work. This is the family who it's like you wake up, you're all in the living room on vacation at 9 a.m. Well, they all live up there. So we'll be sitting around at 9 in the morning. What do y'all want to do today? And we'll be having the same conversation at 2 o'clock.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. That stinks. Yeah. It's like, yeah, well, we wasted the day. Somebody make a command decision. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bobby said, you enjoy your sandwich and like it. Yeah. I'll give you a warm glass of shut the hell up.
Yeah.
And now your back's about to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty.
Sandwiches from dinner last night. That was good. It's a nice little change of pace here. Doesn't have to be fancy.
Craig asked, what kind of boat do I have? I don't have to have one. My family lives on over on the island, and we've got a 28-foot Scout and couple of jet skis and a 17-foot whaler over there. We got a boat back in 2016. Or no. Yeah, 2016. The first house that Carrie and I bought. The guy we bought it from, we bought his boat. You selling that thing? Because it had a platform on it and it was for gigging. It was a gigging boat.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I am. Well, guess what? You're in luck, pal. So we, but it's got a leak in it. We don't know what to do with it. So, but anyways, yeah. So enough to have some fun with. JB, have you attended the Gamecock pregame party that is at Boone Hall? They had it. So yeah, Marion, absolutely. I used to be fairly involved with that when I worked at ESPN. They've been doing it for a long time there. Jen and the Charleston County Gamecock Club do a wonderful job. She's one of the sweet girls out there and loves the Gamecocks as much as anybody. It's a good party. It's a lot of fun. Rick Benthal, hats off to him at Boone Hall. He's a big Gamecock fan himself, and so they do a really good job. It's hot. Boone Hall in August is hot, and you never know if you're going to get a shower or two over there as well. So, but if you go, you will have a lot of fun. I think we might actually, I'll have to check with JC on this. We might actually have some tickets to give away to that. So,
hey, all right,
we'll figure it out. But yeah, I haven't gone in recent years. It's just been always, actually, I think last year was the same weekend as my anniversary, and that wasn't gonna fly. And I'll just be perfectly honest with you. This is going to sound kind of snooty, but I don't mean for it to be that way. Sometimes I just don't want to go sit in a crowd for 2 and 3 hours and have the same conversations over and over. So I don't mean for that to be rude, but just kind of is what it is. But yeah, if you go or you know somebody's going, it is a great party and they do a wonderful job, and certainly hope you'll enjoy it. Let's see. Quantrell said, JB, I don't want to spiral us, but I was listening to Brandon Walker on Unnecessary Roughness, and they had a knockdown, drag-out argument about George Strait versus Garth Brooks. He is a Garth guy. That's impossible. Picking between your favorite kid. I mean,
I'm partial to the older country anyway, so I'd have to go George there.
They're two different brands. Okay, I'm a Chief guy.
True.
I'm a Chief guy because he created himself and he wrote his own music and he got basically kicked out of country music and he didn't go away. Rascal Flatts thought they were going to eliminate him. They did nothing but make him bigger and better than they ever dreamed of him. But Garth and George have done things differently over the years. They got their own style, and there's some days where I just want to sit around and listen to George straight, and then there's some days where you want to sit around and listen to Garth Brooks.
It all depends on what you're drinking.
Jan didn't get. Oh no, Jan didn't like Garth Brooks. See, I like Garth. It's a great show. George is he's just gonna stand there and sing, and hopefully that's what you're going for. I will say this: I'm a big fan of Pure Country, the movie that George Strait was in. When we were in college, me and Smoke watched that movie probably 500 times. Like late night, you get home from the bar. Hey man, you want to watch Pure Country? Sure.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
grab me a beer. It's only 4 a.m. All right.
It's still early.
Yeah. That's a tough question to me. Bobby will be there on Friday, so don't wear him out. Yeah. Well,
yeah, I'm sure he'll have plenty left in the tank for you on Friday.
Yeah. All right, we gotta go. When we return, Brad Crawford. So Brad says, and I know he's in the waiting room, so he can hear this. I'm going to call him out, and then we'll back him into a corner. Phil. Brad says that Carson Beck will start building his Heisman buzz against the Gamecocks in Week 3. Ooh. All right. We'll see. We'll see if we can get Marcellus Dial in here to defend South Carolina's secondary. Somebody get Marcellus on the phone. I'm just kidding. Hang tight. We'll be right back.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is Pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. The home of Oventon, Velotric, Magnum Bikes, and more, they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. Their electric bikes are equipped with 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle, so you can ride longer, handle the heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available for all ages and sizes. Visit electricbikescharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant if you're in the Lowcountry. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hey everyone, this is Jack Mahoney from Gamecock Baseball, and Inside the Gamecocks, the show is teed up every day by travelingcountryclub.com. So if y'all love golf, make sure you guys go check out their awesome membership options, and go Cox.
Welcome to travelingcountryclub.com, your modern golf club experience. Hey folks, this is Michael Manus, former Gamecock golfer, inviting you to play more golf with a membership to travelingcountryclub.com. With over 40 courses across the Carolinas, our membership provides you with an affordable way to enjoy a club-like golf experience. From the mountains to the coast, we offer golf courses that will challenge all types of golfers, no matter your handicap level or level of play. Plus, we offer unique membership benefits not seen anywhere else as part of Traveling Country Club. In July, we're excited to bring to you the 3rd annual Plunder on Pawleys 2-day golf tournament, with rounds played at Caledonia and True Blue golf courses in the heart of Pawleys Island. Head to travelingcountryclub.com to register for that event, and it is not exclusive to TCC members, but to become one, you can sign up and bring to life your golf game. Tee it up with Traveling Country Club, travelingcountryclub.com, travelingcountryclub.com, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
This is Zachary Davis from Carolina Hoops, and you're watching the show with JB, JC, and Phil.
Go Cox.
All right, we are back. Hour number 2 inside the Gamecocks, the show for Wednesday. Joined now on the McKellar Enterprises guest line by none other than 24/7 CBS Brad Crawford. Brad, good to have you back, man. Good to see you.
How you guys doing? Yeah, you were talking about the Garth Brooks movie last segment. I'm going to give you an underrated music film I guarantee neither of you two have seen. Rock of Ages. Tom Cruise plays Stacey Jacks, big hair band singer. There's tons of 80s rock ballads in it. Foreigner, White Snake, everybody. It's a sleeper film. I think my wife and I have watched it maybe 25 times. Great movie.
It came out in 2012.
Rock of Ages, man. It's awesome.
Where is what does that stream on?
I'll have to send you the DVD. It's not streaming anywhere.
It's not streaming.
Well, it looks like you can purchase it for $4 on Amazon Prime.
But this guy can play. I mean, he can play the lead singer of a rock band and then play, Maverick in Top Gun. It's just his acting chops are amazing.
Is that Alec Baldwin?
It is.
Holy. Yeah. We watched
Russell Brand. Yeah.
Oh, Russell Brand. He fits.
Nice.
We watched last night. It just stuck. We were just looking for something, just nothing to be too, locked in on. Like, hey, we're gonna fall asleep. But there was a movie on Amazon Prime, I think it was, that I've never heard of till last night, called Aloha. Have either one of you heard of that?
Haven't seen that one.
So listen to the cast. I mean, it was okay. Like it was just a movie, but I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't like a movie where I'm like, oh man, I'm doing it. But it's worth watching because of the talent that's in there. The Rachel McAdams from The Notebook, right? Bradley Cooper was in it. Alec Baldwin was in it. The guy from
so it's a good rom-com. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the guy? What's his name from the HBO show? The funny guy. What's his name?
That guy.
No, the baseball guy, the baseball player. What? He's hilarious.
Oh God, no, I can't think.
He's got a house here in Charleston.
McBride.
Danny McBride.
Yeah, Danny McBride. Yeah,
Danny McBride. Alec Baldwin was in it. And there's somebody else. But anyways, I was like, well, this has got to be good with all these folks. And it was a movie to, it's kind of a love story with some strange twists in it, but it's
kept your attention. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it kept our, we watched it. We watched the whole movie. I didn't turn it off. I would have turned it off. I hated it that bad. Clint said he saw Aloha and was pretty forgettable. See, it's all right. It's okay. It's all good. Some people like Georgia. Some people like South Carolina. That's the way it works. All right. Speaking of Georgia, we got to back you in a corner here. So I'm going to read it here now. Carson Beck's Heisman campaign kickstarts in week 3. Beck's star, I'm paraphrasing this part. Beck's star is born as the Heisman buzz begins. Well, week 3 is South Carolina.
So 2 disclaimers here. The reason it begins is because Georgia's first 2 games are against FCS teams, basically.
But that's how I read it initially. I'm like, well, that's because you're playing nobody in the first 2 weeks, and then this is your first test.
South Carolina is the CBS mid-afternoon. Everybody's going to be watching it. So if he has 2 or 3 touchdown passes in a competitive game, that'll give him 8 or 9 on the season, 3-0 start for number 1 team.
Okay,
he's got a shot. He's at plus 2,000 odds, which is puts him kind of out of the front runner list. But I think he's a guy, man, that he's going to be one of the SEC's best players. Everything I've been told this offseason, few of my friends are coaches in Georgia. They've watched practice, and he's averaging 10 or 12 yards a throw against the best defense he's going to face all year, which is the Georgia ones, right? So,
yeah,
that brings up a really interesting situation, I think, in Athens, because it's littered. Their roster is littered with 5-star quarterbacks. Brad,
it is.
Brock Vandegrift is there. I mean, I am almost wondering if once it is announced in the preseason, because I'm with you, I think that that he is the guy who's going to be the quarterback. But you got Vandegrift, you've got Gunnar Stockton, who once was committed to South Carolina.
Yeah.
You've got Beck, Colin Drake is there. I just find it hard to believe that one of those guys, maybe even before the year starts, isn't going to say, you know what, I gave it a shot at early in fall practice, and I'm going to go do something else.
And then you have the top player in the country in 2024 coming in, Dylan Raiola. So that's the most quarterback talent that program's ever assembled. And they've had some good ones. As the number one picks, Matt Stafford, a few other guys. Justin Fields left for Ohio State. But, yeah, Kirby Smart has a problem that every coach would like to have on his hands right now. And I'm with you, JB. Once they announce Carson Beck, there's one or two guys are going to be looking elsewhere and probably getting some heavy NIL deals to boot.
I think it's Vandegrift. I don't see. I mean, you could at least make the argument with Gunnar that he's got, it's almost like family to him. I mean, Muschamp.
He's got the Bobo ties.
Yeah, Coach Bobo. Mm-hmm. But Vandegrift doesn't have that. I mean, Brock. I mean, even though he's from Georgia, I mean, he can go do anything, and I think he'll be a redshirt sophomore this year, right? So
he's got plenty of time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and you got Gunnar Stockton, who is a redshirt freshman. Yeah, it's really interesting. But Georgia, that's not the only place that they're really good, Brad. I think they're the only team that you had in your 2023 SEC predictions that will go undefeated in the league.
That's correct. And a lot of that, JB, has to do with this is the most favorable schedule that I've seen Georgia have since covering the SEC. I started covering them about 2011, 2012. And there's one ranked team on the schedule. That's going to be Tennessee in November. Maybe South Carolina in week 3 could be in that, high 20s range. But really, Tennessee's the only game where Georgia's going to be probably a touchdown favorite or less. Kirby Smart has to like how it sets up. I still think Georgia can lose a regular season game, win the SEC, and still make the playoff. But this is a team that, as long as it's 12-0 going to Atlanta, it can lose that SEC championship game and still get a top 4 seed. So now 2024 Georgia, that's going to be difficult to go 12-0 against that slate. But 2023, show up, and they have such a talent advantage over most teams on the schedule. I think they will go unblemished.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, because you draw out of the West that isn't the permanent Auburn opponent, it's Ole Miss, and you get them at home. So, yeah, there really isn't a huge test outside of Tennessee.
Do y'all think that we could legitimately make a case here? It's June 28th, so it doesn't matter what we say necessarily, but do you think that we can make a case today that outside of the trip to Tennessee, the second toughest game on their schedule is South Carolina?
I think it is. And based on the, Georgia insiders I spoke to ranking schedules, all of them, both those guys told me South Carolina. They know that Gamecocks defense will be one of the better ones that Georgia faces. And I think where that game is played for South Carolina is very important because Georgia, that's their first SEC opponent this season. A lot of new starters on both sides of the ball for Georgia. So it's the first time they're going to face, good on good, so to speak, in SEC play. And I don't know. I think Shane Beamer, maybe has a point to prove. And after they got embarrassed last year at Williams-Brice, going to Sanford Stadium and at least keep it competitive.
I want to make sure everybody understands something. We are going to talk plenty Gamecocks with Brad, but we want to make sure that we kind of make our way through the SEC. This is the last year we're going to see it like this, as we all know, once things change in 2024. So you mentioned the Vols, and Tennessee isn't as lucky. That the trip to Florida, I don't think they're going to have any issues with Virginia in week 1 in Nashville, Brad. I don't think many people anticipate they will, but the trip to Florida is also their first SEC game. You mentioned the Gamecocks being the first in Athens for the Dogs. They, of course, have South Carolina, who thumped them last year. And then everybody naturally is going to circle the game against Alabama on the road, October the 21st. Fair enough. But the trick is the following week at Kentucky on October the 28th. Nobody's going to talk about that game. And now if Tennessee goes in and beats Alabama, which chances are probably slim, but if they do, if they get beat there, they better be very, very, very careful making the trip to the Commonwealth immediately following, because it's a blue-collar road game in this league. And it's way under the radar with Bama coming right before it.
Yeah, Tennessee, my game-by-game prediction, I had Tennessee finishing 9-3 this season. Actually, one of my 3 losses is at Kentucky, based on where that game is played on the schedule. That game at Florida in September is arguably Tennessee's biggest game, because if you go to Gainesville and lose to a team that might be 5-7, hovering around 6-6, you're not going to win the East. You're already pretty much 2 games back of Georgia before things really start, getting started. So that Florida game, and Tennessee's only won in the Swamp, I want to say once in the last 12 to 15 years. I mean, it's been bad there. So Tennessee needs to win that game. UTSA might be a team where if they're able to beat Tennessee in Knoxville, then they're probably 12-0 going to the being the G5 representative. They're that good, senior quarterback back. So Tennessee's schedule, has some potential pitfalls in it. Bama and Georgia being on that schedule makes it very difficult. But Florida game early for Tennessee is very important. And as you mentioned, Kentucky, I mean, that's the definition of a trap game. If you write or talk about trap games in the SEC, that's the one you start off with.
What do we make of Kentucky? What do you make of them? Devin Leary's the quarterback.
I think they'll be better on offense, but the offensive line really hasn't been good in 2 or 3 seasons. And they sort of play bully ball and may have to do that again. Devin Leary is a very good quarterback, but I was surprised that he landed at Kentucky and not Alabama or maybe another elite program that needed a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Very good player at NC State, 35 touchdown passes 2 years ago, but he has that shoulder injury. He went through spring, didn't show any ill effects from it, but that shoulder injury kept a lot of elite programs from offering him. So I think Kentucky hopes that hiring Liam Cohen back, who got Will Levis started 2 years ago, really helps him. Kentucky's a team that's probably 7 or 8 wins.
So they're going to be 3-0 to start. They don't play anybody. Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, and Akron. They'll walk through those and they'll throttle them. Is there anything on your radar that says careful in Nashville week 4 at all?
I think Kentucky has a chance to be 5-0 going to Georgia. And if that's the case, they'll be inside the top 20. And we won't know a whole lot about them because the 2 SEC wins will be against Vanderbilt and Florida. So I think Kentucky's schedule sets up for another decent year for Mark Stoops. But then getting back to Vandy, they might be 4-0 playing Kentucky because they play Hawaii, Alabama A&M, Wake Forest, UNLV. And Clark Lee needs to get to a bowl game this season. I think he believes he can. Vandy played pretty well in November last year before getting, the walls blown off against Tennessee.
Yeah.
Kentucky Vandy battle of 7 beatings at the end of September. That'd be interesting.
Could be 7-0 combined, those 2 teams.
Their schedule doesn't really kick in until that week 8, right?
Yeah. So, but based on what you just said, though, and Phil, correct me if I heard something wrong here, but you said there's a chance Kentucky could be 5-0. Kentucky's better than Florida?
Kentucky's better than Florida. Kentucky has better talent right now than Florida, which is that shows you what Napier's dealing with in Gainesville.
Well, yeah. Yeah, Florida's a big question mark, I think, heading into this season, but I didn't realize how big, at least from an insider perspective. So
I mean, if Florida goes 5-7 this year, that's back-to-back losing seasons for Napier. And then 2024, they face the toughest schedule Florida's ever faced. 11 Power 5 teams. Non-conference, they play UCF, Miami, and Florida State. On top of that 8-game SEC slate, trip to Texas, play Alabama, Georgia next year. I mean, it's hard. So Napier could be at the end of 2024, 4 games under 500 and probably be handed his walking papers.
I was going to say, do you think that the solid recruiting class he's putting together for next year is enough to hold him for 2 seasons? But I hear the answer being no.
Florida fans can't stomach 3 losing seasons for Napier.
They don't care about that.
No.
Florida thinks, and
it's not a patient job,
No, it's not. Well, and Coach Spurrier made it that way because they won every year and they beat the crap out of everybody every year, and that's their expectation every single year. I can't say that I blame them for having those expectations, but
Jim McElwain won the East twice and got fired after it,
and then he was gone. Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I don't look. They got to go to Utah, and I don't think they're winning that.
No.
Now they beat them last year, and the Utes remember, so they're not, And then you got McNeese, and then you got Tennessee. So I mean, if I had to put my money on what's their record after 3 games, it's 1-2.
Yeah,
and you got Charlotte. Yeah, man, I'm telling you what now.
I mean, they're banking on Graham Mertz being a difference maker at quarterback, and we really don't know who Graham Mertz is outside of a pretty inconsistent player in the Big Ten at Wisconsin. So Florida has to have really good quarterback play.
Why'd they sign him?
They missed on a few other guys they wanted to sign, and Florida had to have a transfer quarterback. This was going to be the bridge player to Jaden Rashada, the guy they signed who then got out of his NIL and went to Arizona State, I think it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the quarterback situation right now at Florida is not good. They do have DJ Lagway coming in. He's kind of the guy of the future, but I'm not sure Napier is going to be there to see that through. So it's not a good summer right now if you're a Florida fan.
Elsewhere in the East, or I guess the last team we haven't really discussed in the East outside of the Gamecocks is Missouri, and I find this a really interesting conversation because Brad, when you ask about Missouri, I feel like you got a big pile of people on this side that say they're going to be a surprising team in the SEC, and then you got another group on this side that says I don't really think they're that good. So what do you think?
I'm of the 5-7 range. They do have 9 starters back on defense. Almost beat Georgia last year because of that elite defense. But Eli Drinkwitz hasn't found a quarterback yet during his tenure at Missouri. Brady Cook, I don't think he's the guy. And in September, they play Kansas State and Memphis. So they could be 2-2 in the non-conference before they go to Vanderbilt. And this is a coach that just got an extension last year for winning 6 or 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri's a hard job to win at. I think it's going to be an even more difficult job with Texas and OU coming in because Tigers are probably going to be on that little quadrant of the SEC, no matter how that shakes out. So Missouri's a team a bit like Kentucky and South Carolina where they're going to have 4 or 5 swing games. And as you guys know, you have to pretty much go 4-1 in those 5 games to get to 8 or 9 wins. And I don't see Missouri doing that.
Phil, we just need to get a hold of the Big 12 and see if they'll take us up on our offer. You give us West Virginia.
Yeah.
Y'all
it's
take
a
Missouri
fair
back.
trade.
I would take SMU in the new SEC too.
Oh,
yeah. Now that's spicy. I like that.
If there's a G5 program right now that'll be Power 5 within the next year or two, it's SMU. You've got crazy NIL money and it's that Dallas market. So.
All right,
and they actually get to use it, and without being behind the shadows and all of that. Now
that's very true.
No more.
Okay, the
SEC
right.
has been ahead of the game.
According to one Brad Crawford, he writes that the SEC's longest home winning streak ends. Who has it and who breaks it?
Alabama at I want to say 18 or 20 games. Can't remember what I wrote, but Texas wins at Bama in week 2 this year. I've got Bama 10-2 in the regular season. I'm betting the under 10.5. Nick Saban hasn't had a quarterback dilemma this late in the offseason, approaching spring practice, that I can remember. He's had some competitions going into August, but he's felt good about the 2 guys in competition. Right now, he just signed pretty much a Notre Dame backup to possibly be the guy. I don't think Tyler Buchner is necessarily QB1 at Alabama. I think Jalen Milroe is still their most talented player, but they had to sign Buchner as a insurance policy, and Clayson Milroe or Ty Simpson was not the guy. So week 2 against Texas, I think Texas wins that game at Bryant-Denny. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but Texas is one of my preseason Final Four picks. So I'm really high on the Longhorns.
Yeah, well, I was about to mention that, and that's interesting because it's a good time for Texas to kind of kick it into gear.
Yeah,
entering the SEC next year. Brad, I got to add this too, because if anybody hasn't looked at Alabama's slate, I'm not sure that there will be a fan base in college football that will have more fun or at least be more amped for their home slate.
Man.
I don't know how the games will end. Than what will happen in Tuscaloosa. 2 former offensive coordinators are coming to town. You just mentioned one, and Steve Sarkisian with Texas in week 2. They do open the season, by the way, with Middle Tennessee State. And then in week 4, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss enter Bryant-Denny Stadium. And then after that, you got Arkansas coming, you got Tennessee coming, you got LSU coming. I mean,
there's some
place could be
losses in
nuts.
there. I mean, there's
Place
some
could be
losses in
nuts.
there. I mean, Bama's not going to run the table. There are some losses in there, and there's two schools, Texas and LSU, who pretty much position by position have the same athletes as Alabama, and we don't get to say that too often based on Bama scheduling. So that's a brutal home slate. Nick Saban has complained about it in the papers, throughout the offseason, and has said as much about 2024 schedule too. But Steve Sarkisian, probably should have beaten Bama last year. If you guys watched that game, they outplayed Alabama. It took a Houdini act from Bryce Young late in that game to win it on a field goal. So, but Quinn Ewers, he's kind of the $1 million question. Is he going to be that All-American type quarterback that most of us think he can be, or is he a guy who's going to, give it away in crucial moments? But I think Texas is going to take advantage of this last year in the Big 12 and win that conference championship.
In addition to big-time road matchups, another former assistant, of course, going to Texas A&M. They'll also, and of course, going to Auburn with Hugh Freeze. I'm sure the War Eagle can't wait to get them to town. Blue-collar road games at Kentucky, at Mississippi State, and just a really strange game, and I think these are going to go away if they ever go to a 9-game SEC straight. But they got to go to South Florida in Week 3 as well, which is interesting, but I don't think they'll have any problems.
So that season opener against Middle Tennessee, I'm gonna go ahead and take Middle Tennessee and whatever points they give me in Vegas, like 38.5 or whatever it is, because Middle Tennessee scored 55 points last year at Miami. A lot of those guys are back, by the way.
Wow, and they weren't rated by the transfer portal.
They weren't.
Interesting. All right, Spencer Rattler challenges South Carolina's single-season passing yards record, writes Brad Crawford. Why is that?
So that might not be a good thing for the Gamecocks if he does that. That means that there's no semblance of a rushing attack. I do think South Carolina is going to try in September to establish the run, whether it's Braswell somehow getting RB1 carries as a true freshman or the Kerryon Joyner 15 to 17 carries a game. I don't see right now, fellas, how this rushing attack can finish in the top half of the SEC because there's just not enough bodies there. Offensive line might be a question too at South Carolina. So we know the position group is the strongest. It's probably at wideout. Spencer Rattler is going to do what he possibly can in this new look pro style scheme to, be an early round draft pick. And I think if Spencer plays with confidence the first couple of weeks of the season, they're going to be airing it out a lot. And, with Nicholas Harbert receiver and Eddie Lewis in the slot and all them guys coming back, Leggett, he's going to have a big season. But if he has 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, then he's probably a day one NFL draft selection.
Is he the best quarterback in the East?
I don't want to say this, but I like Joe Milton. I think he's a really good quarterback, and I think he's going to have a Anthony Richardson-like rise this season. Partly because of scheme. Josh Heupel just dials it up, man. He's another Spurrier. He knows how to get guys open. And the Tennessee offense is not, rocket science to try and solve. It's just if you have an accurate quarterback and a guy with a howitzer, Joe Milton has a howitzer, best arm in college football, I think he's going to have a really good year.
Where does Carson Beck fit into that conversation?
Probably right up there with Rattler for number 2. I'd put Beck and Rattler number 2, but we just haven't seen enough of Carson Beck yet to really have a solid scouting report on him. But he's got as many weapons as Rattler does, if not better ones. And then Georgia rated 2 other SEC programs for their best offensive player, Ra Thomas at Mississippi State and then Dominique Lovett at Mizzou. So Georgia has weapons too.
You've got Carolina finishing 7-5, 4-4 as it stands today, of course. If that comes to fruition, 7-5, 4-4, how should that be judged?
Yeah, I tweeted a few weeks ago, JB, that Gamecock fans wanting 9 or 10 wins this season need to temper expectations a bit based on the schedule. It's no matter what metric you look at, it's a top 5 treacherous schedule. There's a lot of holes to fill. I'm surprised that the Gamecocks didn't do as well in the portal as maybe a lot of us thought they would. Lost 3 or 4 starters and really didn't fill those holes with guys who are going to be, super difference makers at a SEC level. I do think Trey Knox is going to be one of the best transfers in the conference. He'll get a lot of targets, a lot of production. But 7-5, I think, sort of holds the ship steady. Gamecocks may have a top 10 signing class in 2024. We'll get on that in a second. But I just think, sometimes fans have just super Garnet blinders on, and they don't realize that, they still have to play a top 10 Clemson team, got to play top 10 Georgia, got to play top 10 Tennessee. I mean, week to week grind in the SEC. I just don't think you want to see any games a la what happened in Gainesville last year. I think Shane and his staff are sort of behind that. But, there's 1 or 2 games a year where it's like, man, did this team get off the bus? And you don't want to see that this season.
Well, it's a fair assessment because it's what we've seen. I mean, you wonder that. I mean, nothing could summarize this conversation more than back-to-back weeks, Florida and Tennessee last year in their schedule. I mean,
no one saw 63 points coming, and anybody who says they did is lying.
I will.
No.
That
we
night
all picked a loss that week.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff. Been in Williams-Brice for 35 years, and seen everything that they have to offer there. Never seen that. Now I've seen 63 points on the board before.
I've seen Saturday night. I've seen primetime losses to Kentucky at home after Debo houses one from 80.
Absolutely,
and then it's like, what happened, man?
Yeah,
I mean,
fall apart.
After 5 games, what is the best case scenario? And I asked that question for a reason. It's North Carolina, Furman, at Georgia, Mississippi State, and at Tennessee. What do you think the best case scenario is there?
4-1 best case, ranked number 19 or 20. I think if
they could get 4 out of that, maybe.
Yeah, and if they're 4-1 after 5 games, then I think a 9-win season is certainly in the cards. UNC's a toss-up game. I think right now I would take South Carolina to win that game. Furman's a win. Georgia's a loss. Mississippi State's going to be one of those swing games. I mean, South Carolina can't afford to lose to a first-year coach at Williams-Brice. That's a game they have to win. Mississippi State has a senior quarterback, Will Rogers, 3-year starter, but they go away from the air raid, now have a pro-style offense. That's going to benefit, I think, Clayton White's defense. And then at Tennessee, I mean, everybody knows watching this podcast, Neyland Stadium has been a house of horrors for South Carolina. If they can survive the first quarter, maybe they'll have a shot. But after last year's game, I can assure you that Josh Heupel is going to try to score as many points as he possibly can against South Carolina.
Yeah, they just need to take 39 seconds off the clock every time the ball is.
Yep.
Every time the ball is
right.
spotted.
Yeah, every time you can. Right. Yeah.
I mean, it really is kind of it's one of the stranger schedules that I've ever seen for South Carolina, because you do get Tennessee and Georgia both before the middle of October, and then every game that you play in November is at home. And so if there is, if you go into the November slate, maybe sitting at 4-4, all hope is not lost for a good season for Gamecock football. Maybe not the season people would like to dream of after how it ended, but with Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Clemson at home, all winnable games. I mean, so it just the way that it sets up, I'm just not too sure that the ebbs and flows of college football, Brad, I don't know how much it will apply, because it always applies. People live and die by every single moment. But if you actually stop and see the season out, just like how last year played out, there's just still going to be so much that can happen. But to your point, if you win the blue-collar games, the North Carolinas, the Mississippi States, the Floridas, at Missouri, you're looking at a November that you could really probably do something special with.
I think there's a path to 8 or 9 wins, as long as South Carolina wins the 50-50 games and the games the Gamecocks have comparable talent to the opposition. I think right now the only team on the schedule where it has a top-to-bottom better roster is Georgia. Everywhere else, the Gamecocks are comparable. They might not be as talented at some certain positions. Edge is obviously a position of major need right now for South Carolina, but if Shane Beamer gets to 8-4 this season, then that's that positive momentum that has continued now in year 3. And then you go into 2024, even without Rattler, as a preseason top 20 team and really have a shot to, make that new 12-team playoff as maybe a 9-win team.
All right, we'll get you out of here with this, and of course, we're going to have you back soon. And as we get closer to football season, probably on the other side of SEC Media Days, because there will always be something ridiculous to talk about coming out of that.
I'll be there in Nashville. Yep.
Well, maybe we'll just have you on while you're up there. How about that? We can just do that. Will you FaceTime us while you're about to ask Nick a question, and maybe we can ask him a question if you don't mind?
Hey, on Alabama Day in Nashville, I'm gonna wear a Shane Beamer shirt and ask him about hosting South Carolina next year or something.
I'm sure he would love that. You get a wonderful response. Player that you're can't say Rattler here, but offensively, middle of summer, excited to see for the Gamecocks on offense. Someone you're excited to see on defense, and you can kind of take that answer and wrap into it as well. There are recruiting efforts today, and your thoughts on the schedule next year.
Yeah, going into the Gator Bowl last year, I mentioned that Leggett is going to be a breakout player. Now, I didn't think he'd have multiple touchdowns in that game. I didn't think he would be the new Incredible Hulk this offseason. He's probably gained like 15 pounds of muscle. I think he could be a wide receiver 1 even. I know Juice is the guy everybody's focused on. But you're going to see teams double Juice. You're going to see teams bracket coverage Juice. So this is a great opportunity for Leggett to kind of get to being that kind of wide receiver 1 type SEC player. Looking forward to seeing Eamon Warry's development. I think he has a chance to be a All-American type safety here as a sophomore. They're going to probably use him at like outside linebacker a little bit. He's a hybrid player. I know previously I've kind of mentioned that he reminds me of some of those Alabama hard-hitting guys, Reuben Foster types. Maybe he doesn't have that, that level of talent yet, but he can certainly get there. And then recruiting, man, I tweeted like on Monday just for everybody to just settle down and hold their horses on these commitments that they're going to be getting.
It's coming, yeah.
I know 5-star Dylan Stewart has trimmed his list to 5. I think it's closer to 3 with South Carolina, Ohio State, and Georgia. That's the 3 I think he's looking at. Gamecock staff is doing everything they can to sort of stress his importance in that 2024 cycle as the pinnacle of the class. He's the kind of kid that if you get committed, then there are going to be several others that follow with the domino effect. And then Jonathan Paylor's a guy who here in North Carolina, I've seen him live a couple of times last season. Very good slot receiver. I don't think Shane Beamer is going to lose a head-to-head recruiting battle against Dave Doran. I do think Maryland's a team that could sign him. Kevin Sumlin, Josh Gaddis, those are 2 new staffers for Mike Loxley. He's put together a really good offensive staff. But if they do sign Paylor, Mazio Bennett, maybe one more guy that need to have that 6'2", 6'3" range, then Justin Stepp has to feel really good about that wide receiver group, moving forward.
And the schedule for next year. I know it's temporary, but your thoughts on how it kind of unfolded.
2024 schedule for South Carolina. It's actually favorable, in my opinion, compared to some of the other schools. There's 3 certainly winnable non-conference games. They're going to wipe the floor with Old Dominion, Akron, Wofford. Game at Clemson's going to be tough. And then at Alabama and Oklahoma and LSU, that's 3 games that Gamecocks won't be favored to win. But there's 5 others. There's 5 others that if South Carolina finishes 5-3 in the SEC, sweeps the non-conference, then that's 9-3, which is another great year for Beamer. Gamecocks are the only team in the SEC next season that plays Missouri, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. So you have to like how that schedule kind of played out. But, yeah, at Alabama and LSU, that's 2 brutal games.
You got to go 3-1 against the previous 4 that you mentioned, and then the big 4 that you mentioned. You got to find a way to sneak one out of that.
You got to start beating Missouri, man.
That's
just
true.
got to beat Missouri.
Well, that's their bugaboo. They finished 8-5 last year. They'd have been 9-4 if they beat Missouri.
Well, had they beaten Missouri, they probably would have split Tennessee and Clemson. Y'all know how it goes.
Well, that's true. Well, they also probably wouldn't have been in the. Actually, though, they might have been in the Gator Bowl still. They may. I don't know. It's not like it used to be.
Florida game is still that's the heads. Like the game at Florida to me was almost more surprising than the win over Tennessee, because that game was at home at least, and we know the Gamecocks play pretty well at home. The game at Florida, man, Florida was not a good team, and they just did not show up that afternoon.
They sure
Zero offensive points. You know,
can you tell it still bothers me? Yeah.
It eats at all of us, but yeah.
Like you said, the road stuff is just really strange. I mean, it really is. You go to Kentucky, you win the game. I get it. Will Levis wasn't in there. It's all anybody wanted to talk about for a while. They still won. They also went to Clemson and won, but you went into Florida and never even woke up in the hotel room. I mean, you just slept well. It was nuts. Brad, great stuff. I think we were probably way overboard with how long we were supposed to keep you here, but you're so good at it. You're much better than we are. So we did. But really do appreciate it. We'll talk soon. And
next time I come on, now you guys need to watch Rock of Ages before I come on next time. So you got about 2 weeks before media days.
I wrote it down, so that's on the list, because this is that time of year, where what do we fill time with? I'm almost to the time where I go back and start watching all the games again, but I got to get there because you watch them all and then you're like, oh crap, I still got 2 weeks left. So,
I don't want to watch any more Marcus Satterfield games.
I was going to say, only
on that. Yeah.
Careful, his wife might block you on Twitter, Brad. Careful
That's okay.
what you say. Yeah, I got blocked. Never even said anything about the guy. I actually defended him. Not anymore.
I'm still blocked by Chad Morris, but that's another conversation. Anyway.
Happy 4th, brother. Thank you.
All right, fellas. See y'all.
There you go. Brad Crawford, 24/7 Sports. Great stuff. Got to hit a timeout. We'll be right back.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the village at Creekside, all of her listings in my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Coach O here, and when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight out the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning. It'll melt in your mouth. It's good on a cracker. It's good in a bowl. It's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer. Go Tiger.
The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. Magnum, Velotric, Aventon bikes, and more. And they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle help you handle the southern heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available all ages and sizes. ElectricBikesCharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Bikes are Frosty! Electric bites and toasted! Electric bites and toasted! Electric bites and toasted! Electric bites and toasted!
To buy a new home, Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does the Barn Dough Company, where they can build your dream home starting as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, their turnkey process takes just 4 to 6 months on average and can be custom designed by size and details. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barn Dough Company, Gamecock, owned and operated.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is Ethan Petrie from Land O'Lakes, Florida, and you are listening to the show with JB, JC, and Phil. Go Cox.
Oh, deep drive to left. Morgan looks up, and it is gone.
The 0-2 is sent to center, and this one is going to be long gone.
Shot the opposite field from Casas, and it's gone. 2-0. That's driven deep to left. Langford looks up, and it's gone.
Oh, Phil.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, Brad could be on both hours every day if you want him to be, but that would require some money.
I was going to say, that's probably going to cost you.
I can, if y'all want to NIL us, we can figure this thing out.
That's right.
I can tell you how it works. But you're gonna have to cough up some dough, boys and girls.
Some of these guys we are extremely fortunate to have on the show, even intermittently.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I'm not saying that Brad charges us.
No. By the way, we do not pay Brad Crawford to come on the show. That's what makes us fortunate is that we can get guys like that to come on.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, if he was a part of it every day, that would mean he's part of it every day, which would require you to pay him. So, but someone did ask Bruin. Brad thinks that Maryland has a better chance than NC State to land Paylor. Did I hear that right? Yeah, what he was saying there was Jonathan Paylor has a better relationship with the new coach. I mean, I got to give Mike Loxley credit. I mean, hiring Kevin Sumlin and Coach Gaddis, those are if they can't recruit to Maryland, the three of them, then I don't know what's going to happen. But he's got a good relationship with them, and he thinks that Shane Beamer will out-recruit Dave Dorn on that. At the end of the day, none of this matters. If I had a crystal ball to put in right now, Jonathan Paylor is going to be at South Carolina, period, the end. So it would take it just ain't going to happen.
And between that and, some of the portal additions and Nick Harbor, I think, we can finally put aside the narrative that Justin Stepp is not the best recruiter, which I think which I thought was been foolish the entire time.
I'm not sure,
guys. Really, you do know who all he's coached, right, in the past before he got here, and recruiting is important, but you also need to develop and have the receivers not been better since stepped into the building.
Oh man, yeah, they're really good.
I say yes.
Yeah, they're really good. He's really good. He is really, really good. Actually, I think I saw on Twitter. He had the whole receiving corps not the whole receiving corps, but a lot of them at his house last night, and that included Trey Knox. It just goes to show the tight end room, not all of them, but the tight end room and the wide receiver room are going to be kind of blended.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of blended. And I think if you happen to listen to Pat DeMarco last week on our program, I think you got a little bit of an inside look at how somebody like Coach Loggins, who is an NFL guy, can bring his knowledge to the SEC or to college football, but because he's an NFL guy, have the understanding of what these kids can and cannot handle. It's generally like, and again, I don't. It's over, and so I just really am not a big fan of going back and taking shots and stuff like that. But when you're a college guy and you have a cup of tea in the NFL, or like in baseball, if you're a college guy and you go to the big leagues, you have to be able to process the fact that those guys are the best players in the world, and the guys at the level below them in college, while some of them are, collectively they're not, and so like in college football or in football, in football in general, it doesn't matter what level of football, Pee-wee, the NFL, who cares? If one guy or two guys screw up out there, the whole thing goes, you know what? So when you have a guy who, and this has been explained to me, and so I'm trying to regurgitate it. It really is common sense when you think about it, but I'd rather source out when I have questions to somebody that knows more than I do. So why this guy went to the NFL for a year, right? He learned something in the NFL. Why didn't it work at Carolina? And again, well, when you're a college guy and you go to the NFL for a cup of tea and you come back to college and you forget that you were once here and those guys are a little bit different up there. Square peg, round hole.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But when you kind of have that been there, done that Dowell Loggins has, and he knows like there are things in the NFL that these guys can't do, but he also understands, like Pat kind of explained, like, hey, look, you walk into work at 7 or 8 in the morning. That's work, and you leave at whenever 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever time it is that you leave when you're done. You're going to work. That's your job, and that's not the case in college football. So. You've got a guy who understands that, and Dowell Loggins, I'm really looking forward to seeing his offense, but I'm also interested in being able to compare and contrast his offense from week 1 to like week 4. Like week 4. Like get through the Georgia game. You got Mississippi State at home the following week, Phil. If everybody's still healthy. Just being able to go back and see him from week 1 and see him in week 4, see what has changed, see who is playing, see who isn't playing. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting the way the schedule sets up for him specifically and getting that look at the new offense, and that you've got a solid team you're playing in the opener on a neutral field. You get a team you should wipe the floor with at home the next week. Then you've got, the toughest game on the conference schedule for anybody, week 3 away. And then week 4, after that, you're, putting together a comparable team, although you're more talented, but still it's like, it's still SEC competition, and you're going to get it all. You're going to get, you're going to get to see how he responds to adversity. You're going to get to see how he, is he going to run up the score? Are we going to, in situations like that, what if one of these games is tight? Is he going to be tight calling the plays, or is he going to, you're going to get a lot in that first 4 weeks. I definitely agree there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say this too. And this gets set. Look, this is kind of like a homer comment because we're a Gamecock program. Clearly I pull for South Carolina, but I also try to be fair. and because that's what you do when you're a professional. But at the same time, I want to make sure that the Gamecocks get some credit here, because every year, any other team in this league that has a great quarterback, okay, and I'm not talking about the great teams in the league. I'm not talking about Alabama. I'm not talking about Georgia. I'm not talking about the years that LSU was LSU or anybody else. I'm talking about all of the blue-collar programs in the SEC that are climbing to get to the level in which Georgia and Alabama have been to, okay? So if under, rest in peace, but under Mike Leach, under Lane Kiffin, now at Ole Miss, obviously the offensive system has something to do with this, but under Josh Heupel at Tennessee, we just saw this the last couple of years in Lexington. So under Coach Stoops, last year specifically with Will Levis out in Arkansas, every single team in this league, when they have a good quarterback, they are always given credit that because they have a good quarterback or a great quarterback, that they can beat anybody on their schedule. And I'm not saying that South Carolina is going to go beat everybody on their schedule. They're not. I don't think they are. Sure as hell hope they do. But they're not. But I'm not going to look at any game on this schedule either with a guy who's been there, done that, named Spencer Rattler, who has a guy that, unless they just absolutely are not clicking, if they're not clicking, they're not clicking. If they are, they will. Like, there's not going to be any gray area. They're either going to click or they're not going to click. And all reports are they're clicking. I'm not taking any game off of this schedule that they can't win. And that includes going to Georgia. South Carolina has gone to Georgia every other year since 1992. It's not like next year they're going to go into Oklahoma for the first time. Oh man, I tell you what. Well, I tell you, that place is kind of big. They're not intimidated. Well, now that's no disrespect to Georgia. It's an unbelievable atmosphere. They bark at you and they pee on your leg and all those fun things. But like, it is an outstanding home field advantage. They're the best team in college football. It's not even close. Not even close. But I'm just saying, when you have an elite quarterback, I don't think it's fair to this program to discount any game that's on the schedule, because seemingly every other team in the SEC, when they walk into the year, Phil, with an outstanding quarterback, that's all you ever hear is, well, they've got so-and-so, so they can beat anybody. Well, why is that going to be any different for South Carolina? I mean, I can make the argument that the Gamecocks have the best quarterback-wide receiver combo in the league. And you know what? They've proven before that if you can't stop that in just one game, you can beat anybody. Alshon and Steven proved it back in 2010. We've seen it before. You don't have to go back that far. Juice Wells and Spencer just proved it this past year. Twice. All right? So, I mean,
so there's your example with an elite running back and without one. Yeah. Because that's going to be the argument against the, Steven and Alshon is, well, Marcus Lattimore. When you're like, well, they didn't have Marcus Lattimore last year, if we'll remember. And
I don't like, I'm not and this wasn't what Brad was saying. This has nothing to do with him being on here. I am not of the belief that this running back room is just flat on its face. Now, do I think they're really good? No, I don't. I think that going into the year, based on the intel that I have, that they have to figure out how they're going to do it. And if they can figure it out, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. If they can't, it might be tough, okay? And a lot of this we don't even know until the Braswell kid gets on campus, and we'll see what he can add to that room, and if they move someone else over there like Cameron Sandlin or whatever it may be. Don't know. But as it stands today, nobody should be really confident about that. But they are also good enough to beat a lot of the teams on their schedule, a lot of them. And as it stands today, they're not good enough to beat Georgia. Don't think they will. But if you have one moment with one quarterback who can do it, Eminem once sang about it, you can do it. And like, in the SEC, I mean, Mississippi State has proven this with Mike Leach. man, this guy can throw it all over the place. He's going to give you a chance. You got to have the ball bounce your way a couple of times. There's no question about that. Carolina's defense has to show up and play, obviously. Can't just roll out there and get the crap beat out of them. They're not going to go win a shootout. That's not going to happen. But they can do it. They're capable. It's not like Missouri is not capable of going to Georgia and winning.
No.
Sorry. They're not capable of that.
Even with that, fantastic
Florida?
defensive performance they put up against them last year, but I believe that was in Como too. That was a sleepy Georgia team that came in there.
Yeah. Florida ain't beating Georgia. Georgia's going to embarrass them. I mean, we had an interview. We interviewed, Brad Crawford, but I 100% agree with him. Florida is, hey, dude, if they go 5-7, it is not off the table that they're like, this hadn't worked. If there's anything less than that, he gone. He's going. He's out. He's taking his Muschamp money and moving on. He's out of there.
Yeah, I'm
he's
with
going
you.
to the Nick Saban School of Rehab.
That's right. You need to go to the Nick Saban Rehab School.
Nick, come on, Billy. We've had you around here before. You know the ropes.
That's right. You know how it goes. Come on.
Hop on in.
Yeah, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility for Billy to lose his job this year.
I don't either.
Yeah. And 5-7 might even do it, depending on how it looks and how that pans out.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you, Phil. That's a great point. It's always
optics are huge.
Mm-hmm. It is, and we always predict records and this, that, and the other. Nobody's ever right when they predict records unless they say Georgia's going 12-0. I mean, that's but because if you go 12-0, that they won all the games you predicted them to win, clearly. But
pretty good.
But if anything that's ever not 12-0 or 11-1 or something like that, you're never right about that. Everybody always beats a team that they're not supposed to beat, and they lose to a team they're not supposed to lose to. It happens every single year. Vanderbilt did it last year. They beat Florida. So something wacky happens every year, and it gets wackier and wackier and wackier with the transfer portal. And the Gamecocks, hope that the whack is on their side in 2020.
That's right. We just hope that God smiles on the
God bless Steve Spurrier. Well,
that's right.
God sure was smiling on the Gamecocks today. Yeah. Hey, Greg, I hope you're right. I really do. Look, I think JC has already said this, and I will absolutely fall in line with him. If we've learned anything around here, don't discount the carry-on joiner.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good way to lose money. Bet against.
Just don't do it. Yeah.
Bet against joiner.
This kid has done nothing but everything he's been asked, and when he's in there, if it wasn't for his catch at East Carolina, they lose. If it wasn't for his performance against North Carolina, they lose. I mean, and time again, I mean, Rattler gets all the hype for the Tennessee game. But if he didn't do what he did in that game, coming in and out, they lose. Or I don't know if they lose, but they certainly don't ride the momentum early in that game that they did. It is much tighter than it would have been at 25. So, it's and there's 10 other examples. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yes, and Greg, he has bulked up. Just saw him not long ago, and he looks good, man. He looks like a running back. He looks like an SEC running back. I mean, I remember when Marcus was here, and there ain't a difference in size. I'm not comparing these two as running backs. That's idiotic. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just talking about when you walk up, look at him, you're like, well, now, okay, hold on just a second here.
Well, he looks like a running back.
Guy looks good. Yeah. Xavier Leggett. Guy looks good. Which he told me it's Leggett, by the way.
Leggett. Yeah, that's right.
That's what he told me.
He's country too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man. He said it's Leggett, Bo. I said,
Leggett, Bo.
All right. We got to get out of here. Perry Orth will lead us off tomorrow at 11:05 on Inside the Gamecocks. The show, we're painted garnet and black by a couple of painters, and we just cannot thank those guys enough. And if you need a sign, we tell you every day you shouldn't We shouldn't have to tell you again. This will be the 10,000th time. Sonorama in Columbia, owned by Matt Vaughn. Gamecock owned and operated. 2 more days until the 4th of July break. We hope you'll spend them with us. See you tomorrow. Thanks to Phil and Brad Crawford. Have a wonderful Wednesday.